I never imagined my life would take such a drastic turn. I, Hannah, a 38-year-old woman who had it all, a successful career as an executive, a loving husband, 2 wonderful children, and a beautiful house in the suburbs. From the outside, my life seemed perfect, even enviable. But perfection, as I would soon learn, is only an illusion. It all began on a Monday morning like any other. I woke up early, prepared breakfast for my family, and headed to the office. Traffic was heavy, as always, but I managed to arrive on time for the staff meeting. That's where I saw him for the first time. Ryan, the new consultant who would join our team for a crucial project. From the moment he entered the conference room, there was something about him that caught my attention. Maybe it was his confident smile, or the way his eyes sparkled with intelligence and curiosity. Whatever it was, I felt a spark, an instant connection that took me by surprise. Over the following weeks, Ryan and I worked side by side on the project. Long hours at the office, endless meetings, and brainstorming sessions became our routine. And with each passing day, I found myself more and more attracted to him. It wasn't just his physical attractiveness, although he was certainly handsome. It was his mind, his passion for work, the way he challenged me intellectually. With Ryan, I felt an excitement I hadn't experienced in a long time. It was as if I had awakened from a long slumber. One night, while working late at the office, our eyes met, and the air seemed to charge with electricity. Before I knew it, we were kissing passionately. It was a moment of pure madness, of total abandonment. When we finally separated, panting and with racing hearts, reality hit me like a punch to the stomach. What had I done? I had a husband, children, a family that loved me. How could I betray them like this? The following days were torture. Every time I saw Jack, my husband, I felt a pang of guilt. Every time my children hugged me, I wanted to cry. And yet, I couldn't stop thinking about Ryan, about that kiss, about what could be. I tried to distance myself from Ryan at work, but it was impossible. The project forced us to be together constantly, and the tension between us was palpable. I could feel his eyes on me when he thought I wasn't noticing, and I found myself making excuses to brush his hand or be close to him. One afternoon, while reviewing some reports in my office, Ryan closed the door and approached me. "Hannah," he said softly, "I can't stop thinking about you. I know you're married, but what I feel for you is real. I've never felt anything like this for anyone." His words left me breathless. Part of me wanted to throw myself into his arms, forget everything, and lose myself in him. But another part, the responsible and loyal part, screamed at me to walk away. "Ryan, we can't," I said with a trembling voice. "I have a family, responsibilities. This can't be." I saw the pain in his eyes, but also determination. "I understand," he told me, "but I also know that you feel the same way I do. I'm not going to pressure you, Hannah, but I'm not going to give up either." That night, when I got home, I felt like a stranger in my own life. Jack greeted me with a kiss, as always, and the kids ran to hug me. But as we had dinner and talked about our day, part of me was absent, lost in thoughts about Ryan. Days turned into weeks, and my life became a constant internal battle. On one side was my family, my home, everything I had built over the years. On the other was Ryan and the promise of a passion I had never experienced. I tried to convince myself that it was just a passing attraction, that it would soon pass. But with each passing day, my feelings for Ryan grew stronger. And the worst part was that I could feel my marriage was suffering. Jack began to notice changes in my behaviour. I was more distant, more distracted. One night, as we were getting ready for bed, he asked me directly, "Hannah, is there something you want to tell me? Lately, you seem different." I felt my heart racing. Did he suspect something? Had I been so obvious? No, honey, I lied, hating myself for doing it. I'm just a little stressed about work, that's all. Jack seemed to accept my explanation, but I could see doubt in his eyes. He hugged me tightly that night, and I felt even more guilty about the thoughts occupying my mind. At work, things weren't any better. Although Ryan and I maintained a facade of professionalism, the tension between us was evident to anyone paying attention. I started to notice looks and whispers among my colleagues. Were there rumours about us? One morning, my assistant Mary came into my office with a worried expression. "Hannah," she said in a low voice, "I don't want to intrude, but there are rumours circulating about you and Ryan. People are talking." I felt the ground open beneath my feet. If the rumours reached the ears of my superiors, my career could be seriously affected. And if they reached Jack, I didn't even want to think about it. That same afternoon, I confronted Ryan. "We have to stop this," I told him firmly. "People are starting to suspect. I can't risk my career, my family, for whatever is happening between us." Ryan looked at me with a mixture of sadness and frustration. "Hannah, do you really think we can simply ignore what we feel? What we have is special, unique. Are you willing to give that up out of fear of what others might say?" His words hit me hard. Was I giving up happiness out of fear? Or was I doing the right thing by prioritizing my responsibilities? The following days were a whirlwind of emotions. At home, I tried to be the perfect wife and mother, compensating for my guilt with extra attention towards Jack and the kids. At work, I maintained a professional distance from Ryan, although every fibre of my being yearned to be close to him. But the pressure began to take its toll. I started having trouble sleeping, and my appetite decreased. Jack noticed my weight loss and constant exhaustion, and his concern only increased my feeling of guilt. One night, while helping my youngest daughter with her homework, I realised I could barely concentrate on what she was saying. My mind was, as always, divided between my obligations and my desires. "Mum, are you listening to me?" my daughter asked, pulling me out of my thoughts. I looked at her and saw the confusion in her eyes. At that moment, I realised that my internal conflict wasn't just affecting me, but also the people I loved most. That night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat on the edge of the bed and broke down crying. Jack found me like that, and without saying a word, hugged me tightly. "Hannah," he said softly, "whatever is going on, you can tell me. We're in this together, remember?" For a moment, I considered telling him everything, confessing my feelings for Ryan, my confusion, my guilt. But fear paralyzed me. How could I destroy our family with the truth? "It's just work stress," I lied once again, hating myself for every word. "This project is being more difficult than I thought." Jack kissed me on the forehead and assured me that everything would be all right, that I was strong and would overcome any obstacle. His words, instead of comforting me, only increased my internal torment. The next day at the office, Ryan intercepted me in the hallway. "Hannah, we need to talk," he said in a low voice. "We can't go on like this." I nodded, knowing he was right. We locked ourselves in an empty meeting room, and for the first time in weeks, allowed ourselves to be honest with each other. "I love you, Hannah," Ryan told me bluntly. "I know you have a family and I respect that, but I also know that what we have is special. I can't simply ignore it and move on as if nothing happened." His words hit me like a wave. Part of me wanted to scream that I loved him too, that I wanted to be with him. But another part, the rational part, reminded me of everything that was at stake. "Ryan," I began, struggling to maintain my composure. "I feel something very strong for you too. But I have 2 children who depend on me, a husband who loves me. I can't simply throw all that away." "What about your happiness?" he asked, Don't you deserve to be happy? His question left me speechless. Wasn't I happy with my family? Or had I simply gotten used to a life that no longer fulfilled me completely? I left that meeting more confused than ever. On one hand, my feelings for Ryan were undeniable. I had never felt such a strong connection, such a powerful attraction. But on the other hand, the love for my children, the commitment to Jack, the fear of destroying everything I had built, all of that held me back. The following days were hell. Every time I saw Ryan at the office, I felt my heart racing. Every time Jack hugged me at home, guilt consumed me. I felt like an actress playing two different roles, unable to be authentic in either of them. One afternoon, while working in my office, I received a text message from an unknown number. When I opened it, my heart stopped. It was a photo of Ryan and me, taken in a moment of carelessness when we were too close to each other. The message said, "I know your secret. What do you think your husband would say if he saw this?" Panic took over me. Who had taken that photo? What did they want? Were they blackmailing me? With trembling hands, I called Ryan to my office. When he saw the photo, his face paled. "Hannah, I'm so sorry," he said. "I never meant to put you in this situation." We spent the next few hours trying to figure out who could have sent the message. A jealous colleague? Someone who wanted my position? The possibilities were endless and terrifying. That night, when I got home, I could barely look Jack in the eye. Every time my phone rang, I felt my heart stop. What if the blackmailer had decided to send the photo to my husband? The following days were torture. I lived in constant fear, waiting for everything to crumble at any moment. At work, Ryan and I barely spoke, fearful of fueling more rumours. At home, I struggled to act normally, but I could feel Jack's worried gaze on me. One night, as we were having dinner as a family, my oldest daughter asked me, "Mum, why don't you smile like you used to?" Her innocent question hit me like a punch to the stomach. Was my unhappiness so evident that even my children noticed it? That night, after putting the kids to bed, Jack confronted me. "Hannah, I know something is going on," he said in a serious voice. "You've been distant, worried. Please tell me the truth. Is there someone else?" His question left me breathless. It was the moment I had feared so much, and, at the same time, part of me felt relieved. I couldn't keep living this lie anymore. With tears in my eyes, I told him everything. I told him about Ryan, about my confused feelings, about the kiss we shared. I told him about the blackmail and the fear I had been feeling. And finally, I told him how much I loved him and our children, and how sorry I was for hurting them. Jack listened in silence, his face a mask of pain and disappointment. When I finished, he got up and left the room without saying a word. I heard him leave the house and start the car. I stayed there, alone, feeling that my world was crumbling around me. The following days were hell. Jack temporarily moved to his brother's house, saying he needed time to think. The kids were confused and scared, not understanding why Daddy wasn't home anymore. At work, things weren't any better. The blackmailer hadn't contacted me again, but the damage was already done. The rumours about Ryan and me had intensified, and I could feel the disapproving looks from my colleagues. One morning, my boss called me to his office. With a grave expression, he informed me that due to the rumours and potential scandal, the company had decided to transfer me to another branch in a different city. It was either that or resign. I left his office feeling completely defeated. In a matter of weeks, I had put everything that mattered to me at risk. My family, my career, my reputation. That night, sitting alone in my empty house, I faced the harsh reality of my actions. I had allowed an attraction, however intense it might have been, to endanger everything I had built over years. Was it worth it? Was I really willing to lose my family, my career, my entire life for Ryan. With trembling hands, I called Jack. I needed to talk to him. I needed to try to fix things. To my surprise, he agreed to see me. We met at a park near our house. Jack looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes and an expression of pain that broke my heart. We sat on a bench, in silence for a few minutes, before he finally spoke. "Hannah," he began, his voice broken with emotion. "I've been thinking a lot these days. About us, about our marriage, about everything we've been through together. And I have to ask you, don't you love me anymore?" His question hit me hard. Did I love him? Of course I did. Maybe not with the overwhelming passion I felt for Ryan, but with a deep love, built over years of companionship, of raising our children together, of overcoming obstacles. "I love you, Jack," I answered sincerely. "I've never stopped loving you. What happened with Ryan? It was a mistake, a momentary madness. I got carried away by an attraction that I confused with something deeper." Jack looked into my eyes, searching for the truth in my words. "What happens now?" he asked. "How can we move forward after this?" It was the million-dollar question. How to rebuild trust after a betrayal. How to return to normalcy when everything had changed. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I want to try. If you're willing, I want to fight for our marriage, for our family. I'll do whatever it takes to regain your trust." Jack was silent for a moment, considering my words. Finally, he took my hand in his. "It won't be easy," he told me, "but our family is worth trying for." That night, Jack came back home. The kids were excited to have their father back, although they could sense that something had changed between us. We knew difficult times were ahead, but at least we were willing to face them together. The next day, I went to the office with a clear purpose. I needed to talk to Ryan, to end whatever was between us once and for all. I found him in his office, working on some reports. When he saw me come in, his face lit up for a moment, but quickly darkened when he saw my serious expression. "Ryan," I began, "we need to talk." He nodded, closing the door behind me. We sat down, and for a moment, I remembered all the times we had been like this, working together, laughing, sharing ideas. But that was over. What happened between us, I told him, was a mistake. A beautiful mistake, but a mistake nonetheless. I can't continue with this. I love my family, and I've decided to fight for my marriage. I saw the pain in his eyes, but also a resigned understanding. "I understand," he said after a moment. "I always knew this was a possibility. But I want you to know that what I felt for you was real." "I know," I replied, feeling a lump in my throat. "And a part of me will always care for you. But I have to think about my children, my husband. I can't throw away years of love and commitment for an affair." Ryan nodded slowly. "What will happen now?" he asked me. I told him about the company's decision to transfer me. "I'm going to accept the transfer," I said. "I think it's best for everyone. A new beginning." We said goodbye with a hug, both with tears in our eyes. It was the end of something that never came to be, but that had changed us forever. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Preparing for the move, saying goodbye to my colleagues, helping the kids assimilate to the change. Jack and I attended couples therapy, determined to rebuild our relationship on stronger foundations. It wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, of regret, of longing for what could have been with Ryan. But every time I looked at my children, every time Jack took my hand with love and forgiveness in his eyes, I knew I had made the right decision. Moving day came faster than I expected. As we loaded the last boxes into the truck, I took one last look at the house that had been our home for so many years. So many memories, so much laughter and tears between those walls. Jack approached me and wrapped his arms around me. Ready for our new beginning? He asked with a tentative smile. I nodded, resting my head on his shoulder. Ready? I replied. As we drove away in the car, with the kids asleep in the back seat, I reflected on everything that had happened. I had been on the verge of losing it all for a momentary passion. But I had also learned valuable lessons about love, commitment, and the importance of honesty. I didn't know what the future held for us in our new city. There would surely be challenges, difficult moments, but I was determined to face them with honesty and courage. I looked at Jack, who was driving in silence, and felt a wave of love and gratitude. Maybe it wasn't the overwhelming passion I had felt with Ryan, but it was a deep, mature love, capable of forgiving and growing. As the sun set on the horizon, marking the end of one chapter in our lives and the beginning of another, I realized something important. True happiness isn't in the excitement of the new and forbidden, but in the constancy of enduring love, in the strength to overcome adversities together, in the ability to forgive and be forgiven. Closing my eyes, I allowed myself to dream of our future. A future that, although uncertain, was full of possibilities. A future we had chosen to build together, despite the mistakes and difficulties. And so, with a heart full of hope and determination, I embarked on this new chapter of my life. A life I had been on the verge of losing, but now valued more than ever. As the car advanced down the highway towards our new home, I felt a peace I hadn't experienced in a long time. I knew the road wouldn't be easy, that there would be moments of doubt and regret, but I also knew I had made the right decision. Because at the end of the day, true love isn't just passion and excitement. It's commitment, it's forgiveness, it's the willingness to work together even in the most difficult moments. And that's what Jack and I had. As the landscape changed outside the car window, I felt that I too was changing. I was no longer the confused and divided woman of a few weeks ago. I was stronger, wiser, more aware of what really mattered in life. And so, with a mixture of nostalgia for what I was leaving behind and excitement for what was to come, I entered my new life. A life that, I was sure, would be as challenging as it was rewarding, because I had learned the most important lesson of all, that true love, love that lasts, isn't perfect. It has ups and downs, moments of doubt and certainty, but it's real, it's deep, and it's worth fighting for. And that was exactly what I intended to do.